Welcome back to our book series Poland Transnational Histories and to the first volume by Alexei Lochmatov, that is, Public Knowledge in Cold War Poland, Scholarly Battles and the Clash of Virtues, 1945-1956. For more information on the series and on the author, please check the links in the info box below. The book, Public Knowledge in Cold War Poland, uses virtues as an analytic framework. In this video, the author explains why this framework is fruitful for studies on the spread of the Soviet influence in Central Eastern Europe in general and post-war Poland in particular.
I think that the history of the spread of Soviet influence in Central and Eastern Europe is a very good example which provides us with rich material for research on clash of very different scientific, scholarly and political virtues. The fact that science and scholarship in the Soviet Union were supposed to be conducted in accordance with very specific virtues and claimed to radically oppose the so-called bourgeois science with its norms and conventions made a conflict between various forms of good academic practice inevitable. Another important point about the project of Sovietization was that its activists tried to make virtues like progressiveness or partisanship or the loyalty to the working class and to the Soviet Union as the avant-garde of the working class, both political or civic virtues and academic and scholarly virtues. So to overcome this border between academic practice and politics. Most scholars dealing with these issues usually focus on the spread of the ideas of Marxism, Leninism, or on the institutional aspects of restructuring academia under Soviet domination in accordance with the Soviet example. And from this perspective, this project may seem very successful because both political newspapers and academic and scientific journals were filled with references to the ideas of the classics of Marxism, Leninism, while many research institutions got a Soviet-style structure. But if we look at this process from the perspective of virtues and ask what kind of virtues were supposed to be adapted in the new context, and to ask the question if this project was successful, we can get a much more complex account of this process. And of course, the Polish case is a very telling one in this regard. In the early post-war years, the new Polish authorities established under the close supervision of the Soviet Union tried to avoid some very specific communist elements in their public propaganda and made not partisanship or the loyalty to the working class, but very general virtue of progressiveness, the core of the new agenda and of the science and scholarship under the new conditions in the new Polish state. Since control over the public manifestations of this virtue wasn't established yet in the early post-war years, this encouraged some scholars and social scientists to publicly attack dogmatic forms of Marxism and to accuse some Soviet-style Marxists of non-progressive attitude on conducting their science and scholarship in a very reactionary way, and claim that the cult of the personality of the classics of Marxism was exactly something that didn't correspond with the idea of progressiveness in science and scholarship and in politics as well. But of course, the escalation of the Cold War and the new stage of Stalinization gave the Soviet advisors and the Polish activists of Sovietization new administrative and political resources for re-education of scholars and scientists in the new Polish state. There were big academic events, congresses and conventions that were organized to claim the loyalty to the new forms of academic praxis. A group of young Marxist scholars were specially trained to promote the new virtues and to re-educate all professors in accordance with the new norms of good academic praxis. But the problem with this project was that it could only succeed if the majority of Polish academics accepted or were forced to accept the authority of these new virtues. And it wasn't the case in Poland. Even under highest form of political pressure, the highest point of the wave of Stalinization, some leading Polish scholars publicly claimed that they not going to change the foundations of their academic praxis in accordance with the principles that they don't consider correct. More importantly, the young Marxist scholars that who were supposed to become the avant-garde of Stalinization and promotion of the new virtues, some later became the driving force of the opposition. They didn't cease to be and to claim themselves Marxists, and they referred to Marxist ideas, but they harshly criticized the virtues promoted under Stalinism. The project of Sovietization radically changed, or we can even say distorted, science and scholarship in post-war Poland. But we can see that it didn't reach its objectives. More importantly, later it mobilized and organized people for struggle against everything that was associated with the Soviet dominance. Until now, the references to this authoritarian experience are used as an argument against the idea of every kind of socially or politically engaged scholarship, or the calls for research on the political and social dimensions of scientific and scholarly knowledge. In any case, I think that the perspective of virtues is very important for opening new opportunities for research on the sources which seem to be very familiar for us from other perspectives.